Hey everybody, it's Anna and welcome back to my booktube channel. I swear it feels like forever since I last filmed in my usual setup with my normal camera, bookshelves behind me and everything. But that's what today's video is. I am going to be wrapping up everything that I read for the Reading Rush 2019. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. My first challenge was to read a book with purple on the cover, which I did. It's called Monster Etiquette, an illustrated guide to genteel behavior. It's a little funny, humorous cartoon book that reminded me a lot of Dr. Seuss. I also used this to fulfill the challenge of reading a book in the same spot the entire time. I read this out on the balcony outside my apartment. Then I actually did finish reading the book that was read a book and then watch the film adaptation. Didn't get around to watching the film adaptation in time, but that was Moll Flanders by Daniel Defoe. This is a story about a woman who is born in a prison and basically lives a life of grifting and crime. She gets married 5 times, becomes a thief, narrowly escapes the death penalty by being transported to the colony in Virginia. This book was really great. It kind of checked all of my 18th century boxes and I enjoyed it quite a lot. Next up, for my book that had more than 5 words on the title, I read Heartwood, Non-Binary Tales of Sylvan Fantasy, which is published by Power and Magic Press, the people that brought us all of those like Queer Witch comics anthologies. I didn't actually like this book as much as I anticipated, which was disappointing considering how excited I was for it and how much I usually enjoy this type of subject matter. I just found the storytelling of most of these little comics pieces to be too inconsistent to really give it a good overall rating. Then when I realized I was going to probably make it as a quest champion for the Book Junkie trials, I started adding even more books to my Reading Rush TBR, beginning with Spectacle Volume 2, which I ended up reading for the Glimmer Challenge, which was to read a book with a beautiful cover. Again, this was a comic that kind of disappointed me because I had already read the first installment, which is basically a circus murder mystery kind of thing, and I was really hoping that the author would have picked up on some of those narrative threads that she set down in the first volume and resolve them maybe a little bit in the second, but that didn't really happen, and there was this whole side plot with some of the characters that are part of the circus's freak show trying to take over that I felt was kind of half-baked and didn't really seem to fit in with the rest of the story. Then I read a book that was to fulfill the challenge, read a book with a non-human protagonist, and this is a book that I absolutely adored. It's called Out of Salem by Hal Shreve, and the main character's name is Z. They are a recently deceased person who wakes up as a zombie after being killed in an accident that also claims the lives of their parents and their sister and all of their family. So as Z is adjusting to their new role as this sort of undead being and not really alive anymore and having to deal with body parts rotting away and stuff like that, they become more in tune with this sort of underground resistance movement that's run by the other monstrous people like werewolves, witches, changelings, fairies, all that sort of thing in the Pacific Northwest. I absolutely loved this book. It is an Own Voices queer and trans rep book. There are some trigger warnings for body horror because the main character is a zombie, and so there is some like stuff that I think personally, if it hadn't been played off for humor as well, would have kind of grossed me out, but because I really like gallows humor, I was totally okay with it. And then for just general, queer hating on queer people, but ultimately it's a great story where like all of the good queer monster kids triumph over bigotry and fascism, and I really loved it. Then in the midst of the middle of the week, I decided that I wanted to take a break from reading some longer, heavier books, so I decided to fulfill some Bookie Grail challenges by rereading the first 2 books in the Little House on the Prairie series. The first one, Little House in the Big Woods, I reread for the Crimson Peaks challenge, which was to read a book that you had already read. And then I believe the Forbidden Forest challenge was to read the book that's next in a series, and for that I chose Farmer Boy. I had already read those books before. I still really love them, all of their, problematic fave things notwithstanding. I love the descriptions of building a smokehouse by hand, the way that the pigs were butchered at the time, all of the work and care and detail that went into planning, you know, running a farm for the entire year. And oh my God, the food descriptions. Anyone who's read Farmer Boy will instantly know what I'm talking about when I say that. All right, then I managed to pick up a book that I had been meaning to read for a while, counted for a Reading Rush Challenge book, and also for the Queendom Stone for the Bookie Trials, which was to read a book featuring royalty, and that was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. It's an enemies to lovers stories featuring the first son of the United States and the Prince of England, and their attempts to keep their relationship secret go about as well as you might expect a burgeoning relationship between two heads of state, or two children of heads of state, to go. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was fun, light, and fluffy. Like I said in my Reading Rush vlogs, I did have some questions about how this works out in terms of like politics and national security if this were to happen in real life, but it's not real life. It's a fun summer romance. So yeah, if you're looking for a good, queer, fun summer romance, would highly recommend this book. It was very enjoyable. Then comes the last book on my Reading Rush TBR, and also my achievement of the Bookie Grail, Stardust by Neil Gaiman. The edition that I have here is the one that is illustrated by Charles Vess. I wanted to buy this one because he's one of my favorite illustrators, and wouldn't you know, just as soon as I had purchased it was finally when my ebook hold came in at the library. I would have been kicking myself were it not for the fact that I love this artist's work so much. And I really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it 5 stars. It reminded me a lot of one of my favorite like fantasy fairy tale novels of all time, which is Peter S. Beagle's book, The Last Unicorn. This wasn't quite as good in terms of the writing and the capturing of like that melancholia that The Last Unicorn does, but I think that it does do an excellent job of capturing the nature of like the Fae realm, and the illustrations really just contribute just as much, if not more, than the writing does to the advancement of the story. Very excellent. And then the final book that I finished wasn't originally on my TBR for either of these readathons, but it was the last book that I needed to finish for my adult summer reading bingo board for my public library. And because the Reading Rush was going on, I figured I might as well use that momentum to be able to finish this book. And that is Care Work, Dreaming Disability Justice by Leah Lakshmi Piepzna Samarasinha. This is an essay collection, I guess part essay collection, part memoir, part interviews with other disabled, queer, and crip activists that Leah Lakshmi Piepzna Samarasinha has put together over the last, I believe, decade or so of being an author and community organizer. I also gave this book 5 stars, even though the telling of the stories within is a little bit uneven sometimes. Her writing is just so powerful. It really opens your mind to new ways of thinking about care and justice as collective things where traditionally feminized care labor is valued and compensated and really essential to revolutionary activism. So if you have any interest whatsoever in feminism, queer studies, disability studies, even if you don't have interest in those things, you should probably read this book because it will change your life. Changed mine for sure. So that is it. Those are all of the books that I read during the single week of the Reading Rush. Man, it's good to be back to a normal filming location. I'm enjoying it very much. Still getting a few things worked out, but hopefully I'll have more bookshelves up and a better lighting situation soon. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. If you have not subscribed to my channel and you like what you see here, I would absolutely love if you wanted to subscribe. I am actually on a quest to get to 300 subscribers by the end of the year, and y'all have done just so wonderfully in sharing this channel and getting new people to start watching it. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thanks to every one of you that watched all of my weird attempts at Reading Rush vlogging. I had never vlogged before, so we were just going on a crazy fly by the seat of our pants vlogging adventure together there. And as always, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.